Peppa Pig looks simple on the surface. Bright colors, friendly voices, short episodes, and stories that feel harmless and safe. But the moment you stop focusing only on Peppa and start noticing the background, the entire tone of the show quietly changes. Characters drift in and out of scenes without explanation. Some appear in places they shouldn't logically be. Others are introduced, quietly acknowledged, and then forgotten entirely. Peppa Pig pretends to be straightforward, but the background tells a very different story. One filled with strange patterns, missing characters, and details that raise more questions than answers. One of the clearest examples of this is Mr. Labrador, a character who seems to exist everywhere at once. Most viewers recognize him as part of Mr. Bull's construction crew. He's often seen operating heavy machinery, helping dig up roads, or assisting with building projects, as if it's his permanent job. In the episode, Mr. Bull in a china shop, when Mr. Bull breaks his teapot, Mr. Labrador calmly announces that he has a rivet gun.
"I've got a rivet gun!"
Delivering the line with such relaxed confidence that it instantly defines his personality. What makes his presence unsettling, though, is how easily he switches roles. In another episode, he's suddenly running an ice cream van, using the same slow, laid-back voice, as if selling ice cream is just another temporary assignment before heading back to a construction site. Things get even stranger when you look at where else Mr. Labrador appears. During Peppa's trip to London, he can be seen dressed as one of the Queen's guards, standing silently and watching as Peppa and her friends enter the palace. When the Pig family travels to New York, Mr. Labrador appears again, this time holding a camera and pretending to be a tourist. He's positioned close enough to the family that it almost looks intentional, as if he's documenting their movements. Then, in Paris, he's there once more, camera ready, quietly observing from the background. The same character, appearing across multiple countries, always nearby and always watching, starts to feel less like a coincidence. It raises the uncomfortable question of whether Mr. Labrador is simply a recurring background character, or if he's meant to be someone who is deliberately keeping an eye on Peppa and her family for reasons the show never explains. Another mystery involves a child character who technically exists, yet never fully belongs. Fans often refer to her as Carol Cow. Her first appearance is as an unnamed background calf, sitting in the audience during Mr. Potato's Christmas show. She isn't introduced, doesn't speak, and isn't acknowledged by anyone. She's just there. After that, she begins appearing quietly beside Mrs. Cow in several episodes, including trips to London and scenes set in public places like shopping areas. Over time, fans noticed her repeated appearance and gave her a name, something the show itself had never done. Eventually, Peppa Pig confirmed that she was Mrs. Cow's daughter, but even after becoming canon, she remained strangely distant from the main cast. What makes Carol Cow truly unsettling is what doesn't happen. She never attends Madame Gazelle's school, never plays with Peppa, and never interacts with the other children. And then, after a handful of appearances, she disappears completely. Most disturbingly, she doesn't appear at her own mother's wedding to Mr. Bull. If Mr. Bull is now her stepfather, the absence becomes impossible to ignore. The show offers no explanation for where she went or why she vanished, leaving viewers to wonder whether she moved away, was quietly written out, or is simply a forgotten detail in a world that rarely looks back. Peppa Pig's background becomes even stranger when you consider Pirate Redbeard. He is openly a pirate, and the show never hides that fact. His image appears in children's storybooks, and during the festival episode, his face can be seen on posters and banners all over town. The entire community seems aware of who he is, yet no one ever treats him like a criminal. Instead, he's celebrated, displayed, and quietly accepted. This raises an unsettling implication that Peppa's town either tolerates piracy or benefits from it in some way. Whether the festival was held in his honor, funded by him, or simply exploiting his image, the show never explains why a pirate is treated like a local icon. Connected to Redbeard is Polly the parrot, Grandpa Pig's pet, who appears far more suspicious once you pay attention. In images associated with Redbeard, Polly is shown burying treasure alongside him, which strongly implies she was involved in his crimes. Despite this, Polly is also portrayed as a celebrity. Her image appears on cereal boxes sold in shops, turning her into a commercial mascot. This strange dual identity, criminal accomplice and marketable icon, suggests that in Peppa Pig's world, fame easily erases wrongdoing. Mr. Fox represents another example of suspicious behavior hidden in plain sight. He runs a shop that sells absolutely everything, often accepting absurd forms of payment like buttons from George. He appears confident, smooth, and completely unconcerned with where his merchandise comes from. In the Night Animals episode, he's seen sneaking near Grandpa Pig's chickens, a visual gag that doubles as a hint toward his thieving nature. Later, Grandpa Pig's beloved bottle boat collection mysteriously disappears, only to reappear for sale in Mr. Fox's shop. Adding to the suspicion, Mr. Fox is later seen at the airport wearing a green jacket that feels like a deliberate disguise. Whether he was fleeing the country or simply hiding in plain sight, the show leaves the implication hanging. Mandy Mouse is another character whose presence becomes more interesting once you notice her early appearance. Before her official debut episode, Mandy briefly appears in the background during the London trip, partially cut off by the frame. She isn't acknowledged, yet she's clearly there. When she finally becomes a main character, the show introduces her without spectacle. Mandy uses a wheelchair, and no one treats it as unusual. There's no lesson episode or dramatic explanation. She's simply part of the group, and in fact, the show points out that she's often the fastest among the children. Her earlier background appearance feels intentional, as if she was always meant to be part of Peppa's world, just waiting for the spotlight. Molly Mole exists in Peppa Pig in a quieter, more inconsistent way. She is clearly part of Madame Gazelle's class, but only appears when the group needs extra children on screen. She delivers a line, reacts to something happening, and then fades back into the background. Molly feels less like a fully realized character, and more like someone who exists to fill space, present, but never central. Penny Polar Bear feels important, despite her limited appearances. She wears glasses, plays ice hockey, and has a defined personality. Yet she disappears for long stretches of time, only to return as if she's always been there. Her inconsistent presence makes her feel less like a background character, and more like someone the show simply forgets to use. Belinda Bear is hidden in a different way. She isn't overlooked because she blends in, but because she belongs to an older group the show rarely focuses on. She appears alongside Chloe and other older kids, openly stating that she's nearly 10 years old. She skateboards, gives advice, and behaves like someone who has already outgrown Peppa's world. Her design and attitude set her apart, making it clear that Peppa Pig's universe extends beyond the playgroup, even if the show rarely explores it. Mr. Bear represents one of the strangest cases of all. He appears in exactly one episode and is never seen again. No background cameos, no repeated roles, no acknowledgement. He exists briefly and then vanishes completely, making him feel like a forgotten file rather than a real resident of Peppa Town. Mrs. Badger seems important when she appears, running a massive farm and confidently guiding the children through it, yet her personal life feels incomplete. Although the show states that she is married to Mr. Badger, he is rarely seen or mentioned, making it feel like an entire part of her life was removed from the narrative. Finally, there is Mr. Gazelle, a character who technically isn't present at all. In the Science Museum, a painting depicts him wearing an old military uniform dating back centuries. Given that Madame Gazelle is heavily implied to be immortal, the portrait suggests that her husband may be the same. If that's true, then Mr. Gazelle isn't gone. He's simply elsewhere, possibly sleeping, hiding, or waiting for a time when the show will acknowledge him again. Once you start noticing these background characters, Peppa Pig stops feeling like a simple children's cartoon. It becomes a world full of loose threads, forgotten people, and stories happening just out of frame. And the closely you watch, the clearer it becomes that the background of Peppa Pig isn't empty at all. It's watching you back.